the silent force that shapes every decision. Most people believe they make choices. They don't. They react. They defend. They preserve what already exists. By the time you feel the desire to change, the decision has already been made by something older, quieter, and far more protective than your conscious mind. Identity is not just who you think you are, it is a survival mechanism. And survival mechanisms do not care about your dreams. The invisible architecture of behavior. Look closely at your life, not the version you describe to others, but the pattern that repeats quietly. The habits you keep returning to, the goals you abandon, the patterns of procrastination, doubt, and retreat. These patterns are not random, they are architecture, invisible but precise. You are living inside a structure built from repetition, memory, fear, reward, and familiarity. This structure is identity, and identity is not philosophical poetry, it is mechanical. The comfort algorithm. Your mind runs a silent algorithm. It evaluates risk, it prioritizes familiarity, it rewards consistency with who you have been, not who you want to become. Every time you attempt change, this algorithm activates subtle resistance, not dramatic resistance, not loud fear. Subtle friction, procrastination disguised as research, doubt disguised as realism, fatigue disguised as burnout. You think you are tired, but often you are threatened. The mind is not broken, it is doing exactly what it evolved to do: protect stability. Why comfort is so powerful. Comfort is not pleasure, comfort is predictability. The brain values predictability more than happiness. Predictability means survival. Survival means continuity. Your current identity, even if unhappy, is predictable. A new identity is unknown. Unknown means risk. Risk means danger. So the system resists, not with force, with persuasion. The subtle negotiation with yourself. Watch your internal dialogue. I'll start tomorrow. I need to research more. I'm just not in the right mood today. These are not lies, they are negotiations. You are negotiating with an internal system designed to keep you the same. And most people lose this negotiation daily, not because they are weak, but because they are unaware. Why awareness feels uncomfortable. When you become aware of this process, something shifts. You start noticing the friction before the excuse, the tension before the distraction, the quiet pull toward what is familiar. This awareness feels uncomfortable because it removes the illusion of innocence. You realize stagnation is not imposed, it is negotiated, silently, daily. You are not trapped by fate, you are protected by identity. And protection can feel like prison. The illusion of forcing change. When people discover this, they often react with force. They push discipline harder. They create aggressive routines. They stack habits like weapons. For a while, it works. Weeks, sometimes months. But eventually, the system pushes back. Burnout, collapse, reversion. Not because you're incapable, but because force applied to identity creates backlash. Identity is not a muscle, it is an ecosystem, and ecosystems resist invasion. Why intelligent people stay stuck longer. There is a paradox. The more intelligent you are, the more sophisticated your resistance becomes. You don't just procrastinate, you intellectualize, you analyze, you optimize plans that never begin. You build perfect systems that remain theoretical. You don't fail loudly, you stall elegantly. Intelligence becomes camouflage for stagnation, and identity uses intelligence as a defense mechanism. The slow rewriting. Real change is not a revolution, it is a quiet rewrite, a subtle shift in what feels normal, a gradual redefinition of what feels like you. Dramatic transformations rarely last. Quiet identity shifts reshape entire lives. The person who wakes up early for a year does not use discipline. They become someone who wakes up early. The writer who publishes consistently does not rely on motivation. They become a writer. Once identity changes, behavior becomes automatic. The edge of self-mastery. Self-mastery is not domination of the self. It is negotiation with the deepest parts of yourself. Not with anger, not with shame, but with clarity. Because the mind resists threats, but it slowly adapts to new definitions of self. And once something feels like identity, it no longer requires discipline. It becomes effortless. Identity as gravity. Think of identity as gravity. You can jump against gravity for a while, you can resist it with force, but gravity always pulls you back, unless you change the gravitational field itself. Most people spend their lives jumping. Few redesign gravity. The myth of sudden awakening. Popular culture sells sudden awakening, a moment of realization, a dramatic turning point, a montage of discipline and success. Reality is quieter. Identity changes through repetition, environment, narrative, and micro-evidence. You don't become someone else in a day. You accumulate proof that you already are. The power of micro-evidence. Every action is a vote for identity. You don't change identity first, you collect evidence. One workout, one page written, one decision aligned with a future self. Identity is not declared, it is inferred by the brain. And the brain believes patterns, not promises. Why motivation feels magical, but fades. Motivation is emotional energy. Identity is structural reality. Emotion spikes fade, structures remain. You cannot build a life on spikes, you build it on systems that feel normal. The quiet crisis of modern life. Modern life amplifies identity conflict. You're exposed to infinite possible selves: entrepreneur, creator, scholar, athlete, nomad, minimalist, high performer. But identity cannot switch instantly, so you feel fragmented, pulled between versions of yourself, paralyzed by options, and the comfort algorithm chooses the familiar. The identity debt. Every time you imagine a future self and do nothing, you accumulate identity debt. You know who you could be, you see the gap, you feel the tension. This tension can become anxiety, shame, or numbness. Identity debt is the psychological weight of unrealized potential. The cost of staying the same. Staying the same has a cost, but it is a delayed cost. It is paid in regret, lost years, quiet dissatisfaction, and unlived lives. The mind discounts future pain, so it chooses present comfort. The philosophy of becoming. Philosophers have long argued that the self is not fixed. You are not a static being. You are a process. But processes follow rules, and identity is the rule set of your process. Change the rules, and the process changes. The hidden levers of identity. Identity is shaped by environment, language, social feedback, personal narrative, and repetition, not by sheer willpower. You cannot think yourself into a new identity. You must live yourself into one. The role of narrative. The stories you tell yourself matter. I'm just not disciplined. I've always been like this. This is just my personality. These are not descriptions, they are scripts, and scripts create behavior. Identity as a story you rehearse. Every day you rehearse a story about who you are, through thoughts, through actions, through reactions. The story solidifies, and then the story writes you. The threshold of transformation. There is a threshold, a point where evidence accumulates and the brain updates its model. I guess I'm someone who does this now. This is the moment discipline becomes identity. This is the moment change stabilizes. Why most people never reach the threshold? Most people quit before identity updates. They expect transformation before proof, but proof comes before transformation. They wait to feel like a new person, but you feel new after acting new for long enough. The role of time. Identity is slow, painfully slow, but once changed, it is powerful. A year of consistent action can alter decades of trajectory. The final paradox. You are both the architect and the building. You design the system, but you also live inside it. You are the programmer and the code. Closing reflection. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not doomed. You are loyal to a version of yourself that once kept you safe. Self-mastery begins when safety is redefined, not as staying the same, but as becoming something better. Identity is gravity. Change the gravity and everything else moves.